Sumatera, Indonesia. First of all, I would like to honor my beloved lecturer, Ma'am Rosdiana Bacetubuk M. And she is my amazing and great lecturer. And I would like to dedicate my video to her as my great lecturer in this subject, language testing and evaluation assignment. So, in this video, this is all fun of lesson about listening comprehension test. Are you ready? So, here we go.
There are 6 the scopes of testing listening comprehension, as we can see in this slide. The first one is general, the second one is phoneme discrimination test, the third one is test of stress and intonation, the fourth one is statements and dialogues, the fifth one is testing comprehension through visual materials, and the sixth one is understanding talks and lectures. In the first scope, an effective way of developing this listening skill is through the provision of carefully selected practice material. To that use for testing listening comprehension, to the oral skills in normal speech situation, skills for teaching and testing, much beyond the range of speaking and writing ability if the practice material is not dependent on spoken responses and written exercises. So the question is, what is the significance features for testing listening comprehension? According to J.B. Hayton's books, there are 4 significance features. The first one is the ability to distinguish between phonemes, however important, does not in itself imply an ability to understand verbal message. It's easier to understand than carefully prepared written material when the latter is read aloud. It can be seen by the listener. Use recordings made by native speakers and thus present perfect models of the spoken language. Hence, auditory tests are divided here into 2 broad categories: phoneme discrimination and of sensitivity to stress and intonation comprehension. We go to the second scopes of testing listening comprehension, phoneme discrimination test. In this slide, we can see there are some type of this test. In type 1, there are 2 parts. Part A, we can see in this slide, there are some pictures, and the discrimination test consists of a picture, and it is accompanied by 3 or 4 words spoken by the examiner in person or on tape. Write the letter of the most appropriate word for that picture. The example is shown in this slide. 4 pictures may be shown and only 1 word spoken. By means, in this case, it is usually better if the word is spoken twice. We can see the example of this slide. We can see there are some pictures and there are some words that test can hear. So, type 2. In this type, the test is here 3 sentences and have to indicate which sentences are the same and which are different. So, pay attention for this example of this slide. Next one is type 3 of this test. You can see this slide. So, there are also some another type of item of this test. As we can see in this slide, the third scope is number 3, test of stress and intonations. There are some type of this test. As we can see in this slide, type 1, it is designed to test the ability to recognize word stress or sentence stress, required to indicate the syllable which carries the main stress of the whole structure. Type 2, as we can see in this slide, there are some examples. Next, statements and dialogues. These items are designed to measure how well students can understand short samples of speech and deal with a variety of signals of the lexical and grammatical levels of phonology. And they are very suitable for use in tests administered in the language laboratory, but they do not resemble natural discourse. The spontaneity, redundancy, hesitation, false starts, and ungrammatical forms, all of which constitute such an important part of real-life speech, are generally absent for these types of items, simply because they have been prepared primarily as written language to be read aloud. And there are some type of this test also we can see in this picture. We can see another example of this slide of this test. So when constructing these items, it is feasible to keep the grammatical, lexical, and phonological difficulties in the STEM, leaving the written options free of such problem and at a lower level of grammatical and lexical difficulty than the spoken stimulus. And there are also some type of this test. As you can see in this slide, type 2, these item types are more satisfactory than type 1 insofar as they are an attempt-to-speech situation. To assess a test taker's ability to understand a spoken questions and choose the most appropriate response in a conversational context. Language use compared to simply identifying stress patterns. The fifth scope is number 5, testing comprehension through visual materials. As we know, most of these item types in this section are more appropriate for the elementary stages of learning English. They are, however, preferable to the discrimination items previously discussed as they involved the testing of grammar and lexis through phonology, pictures, maps, and diagrams can be used effectively for testing such skills, thereby making the test's performance less dependent on the other skills. For example, speaking, vocabulary, and reading. And there are some types of this test. We can see this slide. Type 1. As we can see, there are some pictures and there are some statements, some spoken statements beside the pictures. This is an interesting approach that combines visual and auditory information to assess comprehension. Another type of this test, as we can see in this slide, there are some pictures and beside it, there are some statements that the testee can hear based on the pictures. So, the listener or the testees are required to select the appropriate picture being described. And another type of this test, as we can see in this picture, whether there are some picture and there are some statement that listener can hear. And they are required to select the most appropriate pictures. Type 4. Type 5, the testers are required to understand the simple instruction. And type 6 and also type 7, as we can see in this slide, and there are also some statements that the testers can hear based on the pictures. And type 8 and type 9, as we can see in this picture. We go to the last scope of this test, number 6, understanding talks and lectures. There are also 4 types of this test. Type 1, testers listen the short talk and select the correct answer. Type 2, we can see in this slide. Type 3 and type 4, which is in this test, the ability to understand both informal talks and informal lectures is an important skill for students studying subjects in the medium of English at intermediate and advanced levels.